Good morning, Amir. Can you see me?
I can just put your thank you. Councillor Tsengwa. Councillor Tsengwa. Councillor Chokolo.
Good morning, Amir. Can you see me?
I can just put your thank you. Councillor Tsengwa.
Speaker, I'm here.
Can you put your camera on? Councillor Tsengwa.
Looks like I've got a problem there.
Councillor Chokolo.
Good morning, Amir. Can you see me?
Problem, Speaker. But I'm here.
I can Councillor A, thank you. Councillor Tsengwa.
Speaker, I'm here.
Can you put your camera on? Councillor A, Tsengwa.
Looks like I've got a problem there.
Councillor Van Asvier Chokolo. Mayor.
Good morning, Amir. Can you see me?
Problem, Speaker.
Speaker, good morning. Yes, nee, ek is teenwoordig.
Councillor A, thank you. Councillor Wasserman.
Speaker, I'm here.
Can you put your camera on? Councillor Wasserman.
Yes, Speaker, I'm here. Can you see me?
Looks like I've got a problem
Thank
there.
you. Councillor Weideman Chokolo.
I'm
Mayor.
here.
Good morning, Amir. Can you see me?
Can see you, Councillor A.
Good morning. Yes, nee, ek is teenwoordig.
Councillor A, thank you. Councillor Wasserman.
Speaker, I'm here.
Councillor Wolmeran, put your camera on. Councillor Wasserman.
Yes, Speaker, I'm here. Can you see me?
Looks like I've got a problem
Thank
there.
you. Councillor Weideman Chokolo.
I'm
Mayor.
here.
Councillor
Good morning,
Kraus.
Amir. Can you see me?
Can see you, Councillor A.
Good morning. Yes, nee, ek is teenwoordig.
I'm here, Speaker. I'm here.
Thank you. Can you put your camera on? Councillor Wasserman.
Speaker, I'm
Thank
here.
you. Councillor Wolmeran. Councillor Matika. Councillor Wasserman.
Yes, Speaker, I'm here. Can you see me?
Looks like I've got a
Saying
problem
what? They're going to
there.
call you now.
Councillor Weideman. Councillor Matika.
I'm
Mayor.
here.
Councillor Kraus. Matika, I can see you. Councillor A.
Good morning. Yes, nee, ek is teenwoordig.
I'm here,
Councillor
Speaker. I'm
Wolmeran,
here.
thank you. Can you put your camera on? Councillor
I'm here,
Wasserman. Thank
Speaker,
you.
I'm
Thank
here.
you. Councillor Machuana. Councillor Matika. Councillor Wasserman.
Yes, Speaker, I'm here. Can you see me?
Looks like I've got a
Saying
problem
what? They're going to
there.
call you now.
Councillor Weideman. Councillor Matika. Councillor Naki.
I'm
Mayor.
here.
Councillor Kraus. Matika, I can see you. Councillor A.
Good morning. Yes, nee, ek is
Yes,
teenwoordig.
Speaker. Thank you. Councillor Ngezu.
Speaker, Jimlo. Can Bola speak?
No, I can't see you. Councillor Salase. I can see you now. Thank you. Councillor Salase.
Yes, Speaker, I am here.
Thank you. Councillor Skosana.
Speaker,
You put your camera on.
it's on.
Thank you. I'm just waiting for Councillor Wolmerans. I'm just waiting for Councillor Wolmerans.
Speaker, I'm on now. Ne?
Yes, I can see you, Councillor Lugo. Councillor Wolmerans. Graham.
What was it?
Graham. Can anyone check on Councillor Wolmerans?
I think she's got connection problems. But we'll
Thank you.
check on her now.
Acting MM, can you just introduce the directors that's with us in the meeting? MM, can you put your mic on?
Sorry, Speaker. I am saying
Councillor Kraus, your hand is up.
I'm not with the directors. I'm going to ask that they introduce themselves to say that they're present in the meeting.
Okay. Even Phillips, Director.
Thank you, Director Philip.
Director Planning and Development, I'm here.
Thank you.
Director Corporate Services, I'm here, Speaker.
Thank
Eben
you.
Phillips, Director Community Services, present.
Thank you.
Hi,
Morning,
Speaker.
morning, Speaker. Oh, sorry.
Director Infrastructure Services, Pravir Hariprasad, present.
Thank you.
Morning, Speaker.
I can see
Director
housing.
Integrated Human Settlements, Joel Mkutwana. Morning, Mr. M.M. Marvin Matthew earlier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
morning,
you.
Speaker.
The managers are also part of the meeting.
Good morning, Speaker. Bulelo Memani, CFO. I'm sitting here at MM's office.
Okay, thank you. Managers present. Director Corporate, I see your hand is up. And Graham, I can see you.
No, sorry, Speaker, he's still all hands.
Walter, Christopher.
Because someone's phone is echoing and I think they are unmuted and it just echoes.
Welcome, Councillor Womerans. I can see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Melanie, I can see you. I can see the interpreters also present. Enrico Kampf, I can see you are present. Jill, I can see you are present. I think I've got most of the officials that I can see. Thank you very much. Can all now put your hands down. Welcome once again to our special council meeting today. And a special welcome to the acting MM. We are now on point number 1. Point number 2, we're going to have a silent prayer just for a few seconds to reflect on the day. Thank you everyone. Councillors, we just got one amendment now to the agenda. I think the mayor got a communication to do to us today, so I will now give over to the mayor. Mayor, over to you.
Speaker. Speaker. Speaker.
Who's calling?
No, Speaker, that's Councillor Sengo, Speaker. Speaker, I do not remember you calling me.
I did call you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you
Speaker. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sure. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Over to you, Mayor. Can you put your mic on?
Speaker, thank you very much. Good morning, councillors, officials, and members of the public. Speaker, I've got just a short announcement, and that is to do with the acting MM. I think it's just correct that I formally welcome him to council and to the municipality. I'm not going to speak about his resume, but I'm quite aware of the fact that when he arrived Friday, it was just an issue of touching down and start running. And he managed to do that. Louis Skippers is well known in local government circles. Most of us has read his resume. Louis, welkom. Welkom bij ons. Ek weet jy was nie die kant ingegooi om maat, maar nou as ek maar jy goed ken, jy was al dan op af, so jy kan 'n bietjie swem. So again, Speaker, with that short notice, welcome acting MM Louis Skippers. I'm not quite sure to say something, but he's welcome to say something if you want to. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Crouch, I see your hand up.
Thanks, Speaker. I think while the the MM is doing, the mayor is doing his thing, let the ANC also do their thing to say, welcome to the acting MM, to Knysna municipality. En ek weet ons gaan 'n vrugtevolle tyd saam hê en ons gaan baie goed saamwerk. Acting MM, like the mayor said, you've been thrown into the deep side. However, we've got confidence that you will bring some peace to this municipality. Thank you, Speaker.
Hey, thank you, Councillor Kraus. Councillor Leveil, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Speaker. On behalf of the DA, we just want to welcome Dr. Skeepers, and as I say, he's got a massive task ahead of him, but we are confident, and we hope, and we wish him the best to try and get the ship to a place where it needs to be. But we also want to say that we will support him in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Ace, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Dr. Skeepers, we wish you all the very best, and we've got a tough job ahead of you, and we will all support you, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ace. Councillor Salasa, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Speaker. Nam Speaker, mandingene emzekweni torho ndimamkele uMM wethu omtsha.
Yes. Let me also follow the others, Speaker, and welcome the new MM in our midst.
Sikuthembile ke MM uba ngaba noko kule field ye local government noko akuqala uyibamba kudala uyibambile nalapha kule 90 days sukunike yona sithembile zaba khona result.
We have confidence in your abilities, and we have trust in you, acting MM in the 90 days that we have that you'll be with us. You will execute your duties to their professional capabilities.
Speaker.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Salase. Councillors, we are now on point number 3, attendance of members. 3.1, all councillors present. They are all present. 3.2, councillors without leave, there's none. 3.3, councillors without leave, there's none. Point number 4, noting of the provision of Schedule 1, Code of Conduct for councillors. Point number 5, disclosure of interest by councillors. Anyone want to disclose anything on the item on the agenda? If there's none, we are moving. Councillors, I just wanted to make sure that we all understand that last week we did approve the IDP, so we are not going to go to point 6.1, which is now on your agenda. We're going to go straight to the budget. But I want to also, so that we all can agree, Councillor Salasa, I see your hand is up, or is it an old hand?
It's an old hand, Speaker, sorry.
Okay, thank you. We're now on point number 6, new matter submitted by the acting municipal manager. MM.
Speaker, yes, we can move into item 6.2, the approval of the MTRF budget for 2020 to 2023, and the item is submitted to Council for its consideration.
Thank you, Acting MM.
Speaker.
Sorry,
Speaker, for some reason I can't put my hand up anymore, so if you'll just note my hand.
Councillor Wolmerans. Wasserman, sorry, I can't see your hand, but I see you.
Thank you.
And then the mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. I want to speak. I thought that Councillor Salazi, he had an old hand.
Yes.
Speaker, if we're dealing now with the budget, 6.2, then I would just like to say a few words on that. Speaker, last week we saw the appointment of a new executive mayor and a new acting municipal manager, which gives council the stability that it needs, and I think that the DBSA was concerned about. The DA caucus had a meeting with Dr. Skeepers last night, and he assured us that he is confident that the DBSA loan will be paid, and this is what the DA was concerned about, and the impact of not having that loan on the liquidity of council's cash flow. So, Speaker, there's just one other item that has been raised since we last spoke in council and that the DA is concerned about. We're concerned about the impact of increases of rates and services on small A&Bs and those with home offices. So we would like this to be workshopped over the next 3 months and then considered at an adjustment budget that must be tabled in September, please. Secondly, many of these or all of these small A&Bs are unable to operate at the moment because of the COVID regulations. So we would feel that it's unfair to start levying a new business rate on Airbnbs whilst they're not able to yet operate due to the COVID regs. So we would want the implementation of these rates to be delayed until they can operate. So, Speaker, the DA is prepared to approve the tabled budget, but we would just like those 2 amendments to be added to the recommendations, please. The consideration of an adjustment budget, and specifically with regards to small A&Bs and home offices, and secondly, the delay of implementation of the new rates on B&Bs until they can operate in terms of COVID regulations. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. Maya, I see your hand is up. Maya?
Speaker, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you, Maya.
Speaker, thanks. I welcome what Councillor Wasserman on behalf of the DA have just said. I think it's a well thought suggestion and a recommendation. Just some clarity on the implementation part, whether that is possible. We probably need to find out that from the acting MM for the delayment of the implementation of those tariffs. Then, Chair, as I could recall at the last meeting, the ANC made also a proposal regarding the 20 M's and free electricity. I'm not quite sure what the full extent of that is. Is that still going to happen, or what is the case? Then, in closing, Chair, I welcome also the fact that the DA put forward a workshop, because it's important that I want to put mine also. As you can recall in my inaugural speech, I've made mention about the tariff on vacant land. And I would love that also then to be discussed and debated at such a workshop. But in essence, Speaker, I support what the DA just asked. I just need some clarity about the delaying of the implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maya. Councillor Kraut, I see your hand is up. Councillor Kraut?
Sorry, Speaker. Thanks, Speaker. I think that in my discussions with the acting MM, he's made it clear regarding our issues with the electricity and the free units. So I think if that can also then be workshopped and implemented with the next adjustment budget in September. Other than that, we support the budget.
Thank you, Councillor Kraut. Councillors, Councillor Selassie, I see your hand.
Thanks, Speaker. Thanks, Speaker. Speaker, Councillor Salaze, support what Councillor is saying, that we must approve the budget with principle together with the 3 months, so that we can sort all the problems and then we put through with the budget in September, with the adjustment budget. I agree on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ace, I see your hand is up. Councillor Ace?
Speaker, we approve the budget as well, subject to it being reviewed in due course. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ace. So, councillors, we are going with the recommendation. That's on page 8. It's got an A and it ends at O. Do we all agree?
Speaker, no. We've requested that there be two additions. The one is that the issues of the small Airbnbs, home offices.
Yes, Councillor Wasserman, I'm going to put the amendment in as that's going to workshop.
Yes.
It was the Airbnbs, the vacant land, electricity.
Home offices.
All are going to the workshop.
Yes, please. But that be in a recommendation and then be brought to the adjustment budget to be tabled in September.
Yes. So there will be a recommendation queue now.
Yes, and then a second recommendation, and the executive mayor asked a question on that before we can go with it. It was with regard to the delay in implementation of that business rate for small Airbnbs.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. I will give to the acting MM, but I see Councillor Matika, is your hand up?
Yes, Speaker.
Matika, is your hand up?
Yes, Speaker. I was just a little bit confused. I just wanted clarity. Are we saying that the recommendations that we made last week will only fall on will be part of the recommendation? There will be no changes on the actual changes that we proposed.
Thank you, Councillor Matika. Acting MM?
Honourable Speaker, what I understand is that Council is in the process of resolving to adopt the recommendations as it is contained in the report. I want to propose that you add another another resolution, and that will then be resolution M, and that it reads as follows: that due to the impact of COVID-19, Council consider an additional adjustment budget in September 2020. I would then further recommend that you do not list the items that you want to discuss in that adjustments budget, but that in the process of leading up to the adjustments budget, we then bring out everything that needs to be discussed and considered in that. I'm just worried that if you make that part of your resolution now, you restrict yourself to only those items, and there might be others that might be coming up as well.
Thank you, Acting MM. Councillors, can we go with that the recommendation amended by the Acting MM?
Speaker, no. Once again, we just want clarity from the municipal manager. Thank you, Speaker. We just want clarity from the municipal manager with regards to the delay in implementation of the new rates for small B&Bs in the light of the fact that they can't operate, and to delay it until they can operate in terms of rates, and to make that a recommendation as well.
Speaker, I confirm that, and if Council wants us to add it as part of the resolution, we can clearly do that. We can do that, and we are happy to construct a resolution around that. If you'll give me a minute or two, I'll write something quickly, Speaker. I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Acting MM. I just need to ask a question from the CFO. There was a recommendation, CFO, that we've spoke about a committee that will deal with the rates amount that people own, and then that committee will then make a recommendation to council. Can you just explain if I'm on the wrong track, or it's not the same thing? CFO, through you, Acting MM. Acting MM, I see your hand is still up.
Speaker, I'm sorry, that's an old hand. I'll remove it.
Yes, I need the CFO. Councillor Ace, is your hand up?
Speaker, I'm sorry, that's an old hand. I'll remove it.
Yes, Speaker.
No, I was asking about the issue of that committee that was established that going to deal with amounts that come to council. Is that not the same thing with this recommendation that Councillor Wasserman is doing?
No, Speaker. It's not the same thing. That one is for people to actually apply to say they are unable to pay and they are asking for an extended time in terms of making those payments, and then we look at their situation and then we give them arrangements in terms of making those payments based on the credit control. This one is mainly, and MM will clarify, it's mainly for these small Airbnbs. In any case, they cannot operate now, in our view, when we look at the matter as business. So we will charge them as residential, until such time that they actually operate, because they are not operating as business now, as it is. So that matter is covered. But if Councillor Wasserman wants us to resolve on it, we were discussing, myself and the acting MM and Melanie, how we will craft that resolution. The MM is busy with that. We'll finalize that now.
Okay, now thank you for that clarity, CFO. Councillor Velas, your hand is up.
No, Speaker, I just want to comment. I think Councillor Crouch is not aware that the camera is still on. If she can put that off. I think she's not aware it's on. Thank you.
Councillor Crouch, can you put your camera off? Thank you.
It's off.
Acting MM.
Speaker, I just want to make a rectification. I said it will be resolution M, and it should actually be resolution P, the previous one I referred to. P, and then I'm recommending that you add a Q, and that it reads as follows: that it be noted that Airbnbs will only be liable for the increased tariff if and when they are allowed to operate legally.
Thank you, Acting MM. Councillor, are we in agreement with that amendment on the recommendation?
Yes, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
we are all that we go with the recommendation coming from the Executive Mayor on page 8, going to page 9, from A until Q.
Yes, Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker.
I second it.
We agree.
Thank you, councillors. Now we on Acting MM. I see your hand is up.
Speaker, it was actually an old hand, but I'm going to lower it now. But let's just for the record purposes, just note that the resolution is unanimous by the full council.
Yes, thank you, Acting MM. So we are all in agreement of the resolution, councillors. So that will be put on record. Thank you.
Speaker.
Maya.
Speaker, thank you very much. Speaker, I need to say this because I raised it last night in our meeting with the Portfolio Committee of Parliament on the seriousness of this council to take NISNA forward. I was asked quite clearly, Mayor, is your council committed towards turning the tide around? And this is just another step in that direction. The acting MM, when he arrived here, one of his first tasks was to deal with DBSA. He's done a sterling job in that regard. The second task was then to deal with the portfolio committee. That was done. And now the third one I told him was the one who approved the budget. So I need to thank him, and I need to thank all councillors. It's quite clear that the spirit in this council is to turn this tide around and to make sure that we restore NISNA to its former glory. So I need to thank councillors for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Speaker.
Councillor Wasserman.
Sorry to interrupt, but before you go on, Jill has just quoted us.
You are breaking up.
Yeah, it's because someone's microphone is on. Speaker, that resolution O, that we've just passed, that the error, it reads that the error on grants and receipts be corrected on the A schedules to include the 550. That should actually be 550,000. So
we corrected it last week.
but we didn't approve it last week, and it's still like that this week. So I think council must resolve that it is amended.
500,050.
550,000.
Yes. Thank you for that correction, Councillor Wasserman.
She's just reading it off.
Can we move to 6.3? Yes. 2021 draft service delivery budget implementation plan, the SDBIP. Acting MM, I see your hand is up.
I'm sorry, Speaker. I must still get used to lowering my hand here. It's an old hand.
Okay.
But
Councillor, the recommendation is on page 10.
Yeah.
Do we agree on the recommendation that the draft 2021 service delivery budget implementation plan be noted for submission to the executive mayor for approval? Do we agree?
Yes, Speaker.
Thank you.
Yes, Speaker.
We moving to 6.4. The approval of the zoning scheme bylaw for Nyasa municipality.
Speaker, my hand is up.
Councillor Wasserman.
Thanks, Speaker. I raised some issues last week with regards to the zoning scheme. Those issues still stand. Speaker, I have one question and then some recommendations. So let me start at the beginning. The question is on page, and I'm going to have to refer to last week's agenda because we don't have the zoning scheme in front of us today. Speaker, I'm going to start on page 133 with my question. It was a query that was raised by the Teeson Island people, and they asked about two different overlay zones for Teeson Island, one for the residential estate and one for the commercial component. Speaker, I'm on page 133 of the zoning bylaw of the previous agenda. In the response from the department, it says that the Teeson Island is in one development and one overlay zone should be sufficient. Now, the word should doesn't give me a great deal of comfort. And my question then is, what is the way forward if one overlay zone is not sufficient? And at what point will one realize that it is not sufficient? Speaker, so that's my question. And then if I can just carry on with the recommendations that I want to make. The first one is on page 109, and it also refers to Teeson Islands. And it says that the development parameters as contained in the conditions of approval relating to Teeson Island development. So as I raised last week, I'm of the view that there is no council approval for the Teeson Islands commercial area. And I would like to add a recommendation that an item be brought to the next Planning and Development Section 80 on what conditions of approval are applicable to the Teeson Islands commercial area. Speaker, then on page 124, we raised last week, and two of my colleagues want to speak on this item as well. We very much as the DA want to see economic and housing development in Karatra and Reenendal. And we're very concerned that the deletion of agri-villages would inhibit this. So we would like to add a recommendation that the agricultural zone 3 agri-village not be deleted. Speaker, and then lastly on page 139, there is a query relating to the overlay zone in Hornley. And as we said last week, this overlay zone in Hornley is something that the DA has wanted for at least a year. And we see that it hasn't been dealt with. In the response, it says the development of an overlay zone for Hornley and similar areas will commence in the new financial year. That is around the corner. We're very pleased, but we would like, just to make sure that it doesn't delay again for another year, we would like a recommendation that says that an overlay zone for Hornley and similar areas be developed as a matter of urgency. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Wasserman. Councillor Davis, as your hand, and then Councillor Strubel.
Speaker, Councillor Strubel was before me. Thank you. He put his hand up before me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker, if I may. Good morning, everybody. Speaker, I also just like to concur what my colleague has said, but I would like to allude to the fact that when we look at, I think it's on page 124, it says section 5, it is about the deletion of agricultural zones. Now, I've also read what the department has said, or the department's comments basically on this particular section. So what is very worrisome is that the department is actually leading us in pointing out a few things, especially what will happen if we exclude or if we now change or go away with this agricultural areas. Now, in the last night we've had a meeting, in the acting MM has actually tickled me with one of his comments, that if we look currently what is happening in Knysna, then Knysna is desirable for its tourism. But now we see where it got us, because we don't have a broader spectrum of economic development. Now, I think if we would now say, for example, the agricultural side will now be depleted, it will basically put us at the back to what we actually want to do. And last week, I've also said that I'm currently busy. When I got into council, I've already tried to see what we can do to turn around the agricultural site which we have. And I must say, I'm busy to see what we can do to obviously uplift and bring economics to Knysna. So for me, it will definitely be negative if we change this now. I've read the municipalities or the planning department's comments that later we can change this again. But I feel strong that we rather leave it as it is. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Strubel. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Councillor. Just to concur with Councillor Strubel on the agri processing, you know, if you read through the as you call it in the budget, your assumptions, your budget assumptions, and you look at the key findings under spatial planning, and there's a section called under municipality comments, and it says remote development. The proposed extension to the urban edges of Karatra and Mayoral caters for the expansion demand of the respective settlements. However, the investment into these expansions will need to be informed by the opportunities for economic growth. Now, I find it a mind-boggling, Speaker, that it's as if, and I might be wrong, but it's as if council is saying through these spatial planning comments, etc., that you know, we're just going to forget about Knysna and especially particularly Karatra and Renendal, the opportunities for economic development that comes through agri-processing. In order for that, if we open ourselves to that, we will then create an economic environment which will then justify housing, etc. Because a lot of the excuses that we make when we say, or what has been said in the years before, is that no, there's not a lot of development, there's not a lot of economy, and people were using that excuse to limit development. And it's very clear as a municipality, we have to make a decision as council and say, you know what, Karatra and Renendal need to be agricultural nodes. We need to make decisions that specifically advance them as economic hubs in that sector. And we need to support that with our spatial planning. And at the moment, I see that it doesn't. I see that we have contradicting statements. So I fully agree with that we need to clearly articulate the fact that those two particular areas need to be pursued as economic hubs for agri-processing and the like. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Can we have a response, Acting MM, through you, to the Director of Planning?
Yes, Speaker, I'd ask the Director of Planning to respond.
Good morning and thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to start with the question around page 133 and the comment that came in about the 2 overlays for Teeson Island. Perhaps it's just a matter of words. At this point in time, it is the most appropriate approach is to have one overlay for Knysna, for Teeson Island development, based on the fact that it is one development that we do want to have with an overarching overlay. What happens underneath the overlay, as I've explained last week, there can be different types of other types of zonings that are the base zones for the different activities and the different urban that forms part of that overlay. But the overarching overlay, because it stems from one development process, that it should really be one overlay zone. Having said that, I take cognizance of the fact that the councillor is requesting that we have an item at the next Section 80 meeting regarding what the conditions of approval are for Teeson Island, and I have no problem with that being included as an item that can go before council regarding the conditions of approval. Then, with regards to the overlay zone for Hornley, I also have no problem that we have a further resolution that the overlay zone for Hornley, and I would want to say other areas, because last week Councillor Davis also highlighted an area like, for example, Smutsville, that type of overlay be developed as a matter of urgency. I have no problem with that being included, Speaker. Then, in respect of the agri-villages, what we will do at this point, we will take the recommendation on board that we leave the definition there. I do, however, want to just point out to the councillors that perhaps there is a little bit of confusion. The agri-villages that are described there is a residential land use type, and it is not. It does not impact on agricultural activities and agri-processing. In fact, our exclusion of it from our bylaw is indeed to promote and protect agricultural activity and agri-processing, so that we do not have our agricultural land being used up for residential purposes and then not be able to be viable economic properties that can be used for agriculture and agri-processing. But be that as it may, we can, for academic purposes, then leave the definition for an agricultural free agri-village in the bylaw, and then going forward, we can have workshops on this so that at any future iteration of this bylaw, we can reconsider that. I think that I have covered all of the questions and responses. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Director. Anyone else on that item? Can we go to the recommendation? That's on page 13. There's an A, B, and a C. Councillors?
Speaker, are you asking that we go with A, B, and C? Because I have 3 additions that I've requested. So if you want me to read them out again.
Can you just repeat those ones to the administration, Councillor Wasserman?
Certainly. So recommendation, then it would be D, would be that an item be brought to the next Planning and Development Section 80 on what conditions of approval are applicable to the Teeson Islands commercial area.
Yes.
Okay, and then the next one would be E, that agricultural zone 3 in brackets agri-village not be deleted from the bylaw. And then F would be that an overlay zone for Hornley and similar areas be developed as a matter of urgency.
Yes.
That's it, Speaker. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, councillors. Do we agree with the recommendation and as amended?
Yes, Speaker.
Yes, Speaker.
Yes, Speaker.
Councillor Wasserman?
Yes, Speaker.
Agree.
Yes, Speaker, thank you.
Councillor Wasserman?
Speaker, yes?
Yes. No, I thought you had your hand up.
No, thanks. I'm done.
Thank you, councillors. We agreed on the recommendation. And that is the end of our open agenda.
Sorry, Speaker.
Councillor Salase?
Yes, Speaker, man, I don't want to ask things outside of the meeting. I want to ask it inside in the meeting. Can I ask, man, Speaker, through you to the Director of Corporate that we must give us the status of the MECO today. Is the MECO in this municipality or there is no MECO? Because I don't want to listen in the corner. I want the status of our administration. Is the MECO in this municipality or still not MECO since we elected the mayor? I want to listen to administration. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Krauts. I see your hand up, and Councillor the Mayor, and then I see Councillor Davis, your hand is up.
No, Speaker, I was just going to ask that how much time will be given to caucus before we go in committee?
Okay.
I just wanted.
Okay, Mayor, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks. Now, I need to understand that the ANC asked for a caucus, because that should then be addressed first before I'm going to make a comment.
Okay. Yes, we're going to have to adjourn the meeting before we go to another item, the in-committee item, Mayor.
Speaker.
Councillor Davis, I see your hand is up.
Speaker, thank you. I've been covered by that. I wanted to ask for if you can give us some time, obviously, because we received the.
Yes, we're going to have an adjournment before we start with the in-committee items.
Thank you. No, so I'm covered by Councillor Krauts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Krauts. So your hand still up. Councillor Salase.
Speaker, if uzaliqhuba njalo Speaker, nam ndakuqhuba kakubi gqithi.
No, Councillor Salase, I'm coming back. They're going to answer your questions.
Wait.
Speaker,
I'm just filling everyone's hands I see on the system.
Administration, I don't know what you are doing now. Please.
Speaker, if you're also going to be unfair to me, I'll also be unfair to you because I've not had a response from a question from administration.
Councillor Salasi, your question will be answered. I just attending to all the hands I'm seeing on the screen. Director, Acting MM, through you.
Yes, Speaker. The answer to the question is that the mayor must formally appoint the members of the mayoral committee, and I don't want to take away or to steal the mayor's thunder. I think the mayor has an announcement to make in this respect. So the councillor is correct. The mayor must formally appoint the members of his mayoral committee.
Thank you, Acting Director, Acting MM.
Speaker.
Councillor Salase.
Mayor is not here when we have the last meeting. I ask you through to the Corporate Service Director, according to the record of the last meeting, is a MECO since in that day until to date in this municipality if there is no MECO. My question is fair. I don't know what. I don't ask it to MM. I ask to the Corporate Service or to the legal advisor of this municipality. Please.
Thank you, Councillor Salase. Acting MM, through you, can the Director Corporate answer?
Speaker, I don't think it's necessary for that. I am the accounting officer of the municipality. My understanding is that the mayor indicated in the council meeting that in the last council meeting, which I was obviously not in attendance, but that the mayor indicated in a communication to the council in that meeting that he is going to retain the members of the mayoral committee. The mayor indicated that he wants to make a further announcement today, and I think, I don't want to steal the mayor's thunder, the mayor must make the announcement, but from what I understand, the mayor is going to confirm the communication that he made in that meeting, and the administration will then follow up with the administrative requirements, providing letters and the mayor's delegations to the members of the mayoral committee. So I don't think that it's necessary for my colleagues to respond. That is the situation. The mayor indicated in the last meeting that he's going to retain the MACO, and he wanted to make. I thought, and Mr. Mayor, you must correct me if I'm wrong, but I got the impression that he said he wants to make a further. He wants to confirm that announcement today.
Thank you, Acting MM. Councillor Salase.
I think,
Mayor?
Speaker, I think you can, but I did not get my answer here. I want to know, Speaker, is a MACO now, is in that day of we elected the mayor until today? The answer is yes, is the MACO. The answer, yes. The MACO dissolve. This is
the
what
answer is yes, Councillor Salase. The acting MM is saying the mayor did make the announcement that the MACO remains the same. He's just going to re-emphasize that announcement today. This is how I understand the acting MM's response. Acting MM?
Speaker, you are correct. And then what must obviously also follow is the administrative action of actually providing the mayor's appointments in a letter that the administration must assist the mayor with. So this is the outstanding thing. So the mayor announced it on Thursday evening, and the administration, we must just provide the councillors with the letters from the mayor. So the MACO has been in place. We must just confirm it through an administrative action, Speaker.
Thank you, Acting MM. Councillor Salasi, are you now covered?
No, it's fine, Speaker.
Thank you. Mayor?
Speaker.
Before we adjourn the meeting for the in-committee items?
Speaker, I assume that the caucus of the ANC is not going on, so I can then continue with
we're going to adjourn. There's no caucus.
Okay.
They can have the caucus, Mayor, but because we have to adjourn to get into the link now, the second one, and council just received this item, so they need some time to go through it.
Okay, then I misunderstood what the purpose of the caucus of the ANC would have been. Speaker, just does the following thing. I think the MM tried to explain quite clearly what I've done since last Thursday. And even in my meeting, in my message on Monday, I was quite clear that the status quo remained. But it was brought under my attention that I need to do it in a formal meeting. So the only formal meeting of council is this meeting. For me then to formally announce the mayoral committee of council. Chair, there are two things here which I'm a bit concerned. Despite the fact that it remains as it is, there must be at one stage looking at the different portfolio committees and whether council is still happy with that or whether the acting MM wants to look at it to make sure that it probably aligns with some of his vision and council's vision. So at this moment, Chair, I will announce it as it is on the current structure. Councillor C. Krauts, Chairperson of Governance and Economic Development and Finance. Councillor T. Matika, Chairperson of Integrated Human Settlements and Technical Services Committees. Councillor M. Welcome Salasi, Chairperson of Community Services Committee. Councillor M. Skosana, the Chairperson of Planning and Development Committee. Chair, I hope it clarifies some concerns raised by councillors. Again, I want to reiterate that there's a possibility when we look at the different committees that the acting through council might to align or speak on these committees. But as I said earlier, currently it remains as is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, we are now going to adjourn. And I think we all, if 30 minutes, I see your hand is still up.
Sorry, Speaker, my bad. I'm lowering it.
Okay. Councillor Lassie, your hand is up.
Speaker, my hand is up.
Councillor
sorry, Speaker. It's an old hand, Speaker, sorry.
Councillor Wasserman, before we adjourn.
I'm just worried about the fact that we need to read 48 pages and then caucus on it. So, Speaker, it's now 12 o'clock. Can we come back at quarter to 1?
We can make it at 1.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Okay, we'll all be back at 1 o'clock, Councillor. This open agenda has now been adjourned until 1 o'clock. Coming back to the in-committee item. Thank you.
Focus maar, spaar doen, kabel is hoor.